Good afternoon, I'm Tony with Salem Health, and I'm here to show you how to make a mask out of our surgical paper. So you're going to get a kit, and in the kit it's going to include approximately 30 sheets. Now the sheets may be single sheets, which look like this, and it's the one I'm using for the demonstration, or you may get some that are double, white and blue. If they are, you just need to separate them, cut them so they're separate sheets and work them in a single fashion. It doesn't matter which way, just cut the same pattern that's in the instructions. In the kit you'll get the sheets, you'll get an extra plastic bag to put the finished product in, you'll get a step-by-step instruction sheet, and you'll get an identification card that we'd ask you to fill out with your name and address and phone number and how many masks you completed. It also has drop-off instructions. So I'm going to show you how to do, from a single sheet, how to do it. So these sheets are about 18 by 18 long, so a square. The first thing we're going to do is cut out the masks. It's one piece for the mask. It is going to be 16 inches long by 9 inches wide. So first I'm going to cut the 9. And you can use scissors, or if you're a quilter, you can use a rotary cutter like I'm doing, whichever way you have of doing it. I'm going to save this piece for the straps. And now I just need to cut this so it's 16 and not quite so long. So I'm going to turn this sideways so it's easier for me to cut. And I like to get all the pieces ready first and then go on to the assembly. So I'm going to cut the 16-inch. So this is the mask size right here. That's ready. Now I'm going to cut the strips, and they're just 1-inch strips. You can keep the sheet as long as it is. That's fine. And we're just going to cut 1-inch strips. You'll have if you use the sheet, you'll have additional strips. You can use those for another mask, and if you're used to quilting, you can make the most of the next sheet. You can maybe cut 2 masks out of 1 sheet. Because it's 18 inches, you should be able to get 2 masks out of 1 sheet, but you'll already have these strips from the first sheet. So make the most out of the product. I'm just cutting 4. And 1 more. Okay, so now I have what I need to make the mask. I have the 4 strips and I have the mask sheet. The next thing we're going to do is we're just simply going to fold the mask piece in half. So we're going to fold it, and then we're going to just crease the edge here. So now this is ready to be sewn. We want to sew a 1/4 inch single stitch along this edge. So we have the mask 16-inch folded in half. We have just sort of finger pressed the fold, and we're going to sew a single stitch 1/4 inch seam allowance down here. You don't have to backstitch because we're going to be putting the straps on those sides, on both sides. So we're just going to single stitch all the way down. We prefer you use white thread. Okay, it's that simple. Cut off the excess thread. Okay, now I want you to turn it inside out so that this seam is on the inside. So once it's completely inside out, we just want you to finger press the seam. We don't want to use any iron or anything like that on it, just finger press it. Now we're going to go back to marking this. So I'm going to go back over to the cutting board. I'm going to take a pin. I'm going to put the seam side towards me and just press it out. Now we want to make marks on this, little dash marks on this, so we know where to put the folds. So the first one is at 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to put a little mark on 1.5 inches, and then 3.5, 4.5, and 6.5. So the 6.5 is going to come back and touch the 4.5. The 3.5 is going to come back and touch the 1.5. So we'll do it on both sides. So let me scoot this over so I make sure I get the marks right. So at 1.5, 3.5, 4.5, and 6.5. So I have marks on both sides. I'm going to put my fingers where the 6.5 mark is, and it's easier if you just kind of fold it, make an imaginary line, and fold it so that there's a crease there, little crease, and then match those marks to the 4.5-inch marks. So now you've made your first pleat. So we're making the pleats. And I'm just using these little paper clips. If you're a quilter, you might have clips. If you don't, you can use straight pins, whatever you have to kind of hold it in place. Very simple. And this pattern idea came from Providence, so we thank them for that. Then you take the 3.5, and again, just make a little fold. So you have a little crease there. And then you're just going to match it up to the 1.5. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just want some nice even pleats if we can. Again, clip it. And this just holds it in place. Clip it or pin it. Holds it in place until you can sew it. So now I'm going to go back to the machine and I'm going to do a 1/4-inch seam on this single stitch. And I'm just going to sew the pleats. I don't have to sew all the way down. Okay, so take off the clip, put it down, and do a 1/4-inch seam. I've gone through the seam. I don't have to go all the way down. Cut off the extra. And now I'm going to do the other side. Okay, it's beginning to look like a mask. So now we have to put on the strips. So I have the 4 strips. You take the first strip and you just put a little crease about 1 or 2 inches, a finger crease 1 or 2 inches. We just want something that we can fold in half, and we're going to put on a corner. It doesn't matter which corner you start with, just put it on a corner. Just hold it in place, and you're just going to sew it down. Again, you don't have to backstitch because you're going to sew over this with the second strip. So just straight seam. Get these out of my way. And cut it. You might have a fancy sewing machine that does the cut thread by itself. If you do, that's great. You get that one out of the way so I can grab the right strips. Okay, so I'm taking strip number 2, and this time I'm going to do the fold a little bit bigger than 1 or 2 inches. I want to be able to give a little crease for approximately the whole side. So I'm just doing a finger crease, and then I'm going to fold it over here. And again, you don't need to pin, you don't need to take that much time. We just need these done. We don't need them to be perfect. So just fold it over so it covers that. And then you're going to sew this down, and on this one, we do want you to backstitch a little. We want it to be on there pretty firm. If you're a perfectionist, this might bother you a little, not pinning and everything, but it's fine. Okay, now we're going to duplicate that on the other side. Do the exact same thing. Crease this one about 1 inch to 2 inches. A little fold, little press. Do a corner, doesn't matter which corner because you're going to cover it up. Sew it down. Cut it. And then the last strip, we want you to fold it a little bit bigger, 4 or 5 inches, and cover what you just did. This one is being a little ornery. There we go. If you feel better pinning it, you can. These are single-use masks. They're going to be used one time and then with one patient and then discarded. So they're not going to be reused. Back stitch. Okay, the final step is an important step. We need to notch these because these need to be able to be doffed or removed from the face very quickly and very easily without touching the face. So what we'll do is at each corner where the strap is folded, at each corner where we have folded the strap, I need you to make a notch, like you're notching a pattern, just a little V halfway up. You don't need to measure, you just need to make a little cut, not all the way, but just halfway up. So a notch like that. And we're going to do it on all four. And that will allow us to tie it on, be strong enough to tie on, but it will also allow for the employee to be able to pull it off without touching their face. So I'm just going to finish notching this on all four. Just make sure you fold it in half. And I've got my thumb there, so I'm just notching, you know, about halfway up. Just a little notch. So once you finish the using all the sheets and making all the masks, then the return instructions are on there for you to return them to the hospital. And there's also a phone number on there that you can call for volunteer services if you have any questions or concerns. It's really just that simple. I might have cut that one a little bit far, so you want to make sure you don't cut too far. Let's see, there's got to be one more. Oh, here it is. There we go. Just pull that out. And then we have notches in all four corners, and there's a completed mask that can be used. So thank you very much. We certainly appreciate your help in this matter.